The 8-pin connector I bought for this project because I needed one of those is a little bit different from the others. It has this yellow insert and the sealing ring is not built into it. So according to the smart people on the internet, you're supposed to slide this in. This is the female side, and then stretch this around. Seat it in there. Give it a little gentle push back. And then when it mates with the male plug, I guess it all seats back in there nicely. There you go. Other than that, seems like it goes together the same. The crimp connections are identical. I don't see any difference there. That's the female. The male looks about the same. So I'm going to go ahead and build up this female side. I have been soldering the connections. If there's a little buzz in the background, it's because I added a fan. I felt like I was poisoning myself yesterday. So I looked at my solder, and you know, solder is lead free these days. But then I saw it said Radio Shack on it. And I thought, well, Radio Shack's been closed for a while. So then I looked on the back, and it does not say whether it has lead in it or not. Oh, yeah, sure enough, contains lead. Well, there you go. So I was poisoning myself yesterday. Great. Yeah, I figured it was old enough that I should be concerned about. Of course, it also says this product contains a chemical known to the state of California to cause cancer. But if any of you have been to California recently, absolutely everything says that. Sushi says that, jewelry says that. So I don't put a lot of stock in that. They are over-labeled. But I think that contains lead. Yeah, that's a hint. So I've got a fan on in the background now. Maybe that explains why I was feeling as cruddy as I was yesterday. Although maybe the fact that I spent 12 hours working on this had a little something to do with that. Did find a little bit of time to have some fun. Well, this is fun, but got to do the grocery shopping, so that was great. One of my older kids is in town, so we got to hang out a little bit, so that was also good. And today I have a deadline because I'm going to a wedding, which will be fun. Nice distraction. Although it is interesting when you get involved in a project like this, there is both the joy of the journey, of enjoying the process of getting it done, and at the same time the desire to get it knocked out and move on. And of course I'm pretty excited to get the motorcycle up and running, even in some kind of temporary format. That would be pretty exciting. The overall project has been a long time coming. Years ago, my father and I took a sidecar course up near here, and it surprised me at the time. I don't know, it's 20 years ago, and I thought sidecars were just for old men, and they may well be, but it was fun. Had a good time. It's challenging to ride a sidecar, to pilot a sidecar, when you're steering to the left. The sidecar, at least in the US, the sidecar helps anchor you. When you're steering to the right, the sidecar wants to fly. So if you do so you have to manage your weight distribution and speed pretty well. And of course you can fly the sidecar on purpose if you want to, which is another form of entertainment. The first time I took the kids for a ride, I flew the sidecar, and the one thing I told them was, don't tell your mother. And then of course the first thing they did was told their mother. So I guess I shouldn't have been surprised. Alright, let's gather up the grounds here first. So let's see. Black with red as a ground. And of course there's no black with red. Well, let's do it the opposite. Let's see if we can identify the colors that are being used, and then everything else will be a ground. So blue with black, that's a turn signal indicator. Blue with black is a turn signal indicator. Blue with black is a charge indicator. I think I have one of these is probably supposed to be blue with red. Hang on. Let's see if the book tells us something different. So turn signal indicator is both. Oh, that's interesting. I guess that makes sense, right? So the blue with black and the blue with red are turn signal indicators. Let's pull those aside. The straight blue is the charge indicator. The neutral is black with brown. I think I just discovered a challenge here. The gray with black is for lighting. The green with blue is a common circuit, ground. Black goes to a diode that I'm not using, or some kind of triac, I don't know. Then I have brown and brown with green. So brown with green is the oil pressure, and brown's a common, and white is the high beam, which I said I'm going to tie in directly to the high beam line, so I really don't have to run that all the way back. But the issue I have, let's see, is that the way I need to wire this, I need to send common power to one side of the charge lights, or the neutral and the oil pressure light, and then I have to bring back those switches to, or the other side of those lights, ground them basically through the switches. But they seem to be on a common ground circuit, which ties into other items is the concern. So I think if I did that, well, actually no, yes, it ties into the charge light, maybe it ties into the charge light, the neutral, and the oil all have the common ground. So that means that's not going to work properly, because all those go through green. So if I put power through the green, oh sorry, the green and blue, well, yeah, that's that. That means I'm going to have the charge light on all the time. Because it's going to be hot and it's supposed to be neutral. I'm going to have to make that hot for the neutral switch and the oil pressure light to work. Which means the only thing I would know to do is see if I can crack open the speedometer cluster and rewire the ground, rewire the charge light to the brown ground, or the brown ground circuit. Interesting. Well, let's do what we can do. We know we don't want the white to go through the plug, so I'm going to grab that power directly from the headlight bucket. So let me just insulate that, just so I won't accidentally do that. So that's the white. Now the turn signal, I'm going to have to tie one side of that into ground, so I can just choose which one. And the other side will be the indicator. So let's take the green with red as the indicator. So that does need power. And then the green with, the blue with black. I'm going to tie that into the brown ground circuit. So let me just cluster those temporarily. Okay. Oops. So headlight, ground. This is the charge light over here. Or sorry, the speedometer and tachometer lights in the common ground. This will be the blue with red is the turn signal. This plain blue is the charge light. So if I can ground, so I do need that, that would go to the voltage regulator. And then the ground would go, yeah, I got to figure out how to tie the ground into the brown for that to work. And disconnect it from its existing ground. Okay. And what do we have left here? Okay, so brown with green is going to the oil pressure switch. And brown with black going to the neutral switch, so I need both of those. And then green with blue is going to be the power circuit coming from aux to power the neutral and green, neutral and oil pressure lights. And then black is unused. I hope. That should be unused also. So where's that leave me here? So let me just, I'm even going to fold these back actually. No, yeah, it's fine. So it gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exactly what I was expecting. For once. So I'll wire those up and we'll go from there. Alright, so you see what's wrong here? Aside from the fact that my crimps aren't that great? Yeah, no grommets. Could none of you have sent me some sort of time-traveling, extrasensory message telling me to put these dang grommets on? Ah. exciting milestone day today. Motorcycle is coming off of the jack stand for the first time in months. Most of the wiring is complete. We've got the starter motor wired in. I think the ignition's wired right, about 90% sure of that. I've got LED bulbs in it all around. And I still have some cleanup to do, still have a little troubleshooting to do, but I have to get it off the stand so that I can wire up the neutral switch and the oil switch. And that will be the end of the functional wiring. So at that point, we'll be ready to put the pipes on, the carburetors, run new fuel lines, and do some odds and ends. And then I get to wait for the plastic to be painted. So we're getting closer. Exciting, exciting. Well, we now have the BMW on the ground. It's strapped in place. I think all the wiring is done. I'm sure there's some things to clear up, but by and large everything should work. The battery's hooked up. We have the ground and neutral switch hooked up, and still don't have a horn yet, but that'll come soon. LED lights all around. So let's do a quick test. Key switch on, and the unit has initialized. Let's check. You'll have to take my word for it, but the horn light is flashing, so I feel confident the horn would work. Left turn signal, front, rear. My indicator stopped working. Right turn signal, front and rear, still no indicator, so that's different. I don't know why that stopped. Kill is still backwards. And, oh, lights. High, low, high and low. Running light is not on, so that's another challenge there. Brake light. Good. Good. So we've got a couple challenges. Let's try this. That's backwards, so that's right. Yeah! Very nice. Oh, maybe that works, and that's back in kill. So no, that's run. So run, this should be working. It only works in the kill. So, okay, so what have we discovered? For some reason, the turn signal indicators have stopped working. I got to figure that out. Neutral switch. I don't have the clutch cable hooked up yet, so I'll have to check that, and obviously I can't check the oil either. But it looks like probably the whole gauge cluster is not powered properly because my gauge indicator lights aren't on either. Alright, still a little work to do. Pretty stoked that it turned over. First time that's happened in a while. So we are on the right track. Big electrical system update for the motorcycle. We have the electrics, I would say 95% or better wired. Some of it may need to get proved out, of course. We still have some sorting to do. We still have some straightening up to do. But generally speaking, the motorcycle is wired, including all of the sensors. My recent add today was a relay to make the kill switch work properly. and I straightened up the wires just a little bit beyond that. But they are ready to roll, and I found a couple errors that are solved that make all the lights work. One was that I had the parking light, which wasn't working before, hooked into the wrong output, and I had the polarity reversed, which matters since I have an LED bulb in there. I've got the LED headlight bulb in place, and I realized the reason these instrumentation lights weren't working was because they weren't grounded. They are normally grounded through the housing of the instruments that they are used in, the voltmeter and the clock. So we should be completely good to go. Let's take a look. We will turn on the switch and watch the system initialize. That click you heard was the relay switching. So now if you look, let's see if we can get it all in frame. The kill switch is on. That is off. You can see the ignition output switch is off. Ignition output switch is on in the down position. And the clicking again you hear is the relay. So all that works like a champ. The dashboard lights are now working. That is the oil low light and the neutral switch. So both those work properly. I do not yet have the generator switch running. So that's one issue. Left turn signal, you can see there's my left. The indicator light's flashing. Right. Indicator light's flashing still. Front. The horn output still works. The lights turn on. My high beam indicator doesn't work. You may be able to see, however, that the instrumentation light does work. You can see the glow in there. You can also see the voltmeter and clock LEDs are burning. If I go into the on position and get the clutch, that was the starter kicking over, so that works. And then finally, kick that to the off position. If I turn to the park position, I get the parking light engaged. So, looks like our electrics are in good shape. Again, the high beam light and the generator light on the dashboard aren't quite set up yet. Other than that, we are good to go. Very excited.